Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from IGNEA, The Realms of Fire and Death, out July 3rd on Cadabra Music. The album has 10 tracks and is 42 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. This is a special release. The original record came out back in April. This is a concept album, a concept that's broken down into 3 different stories. Each story has 3 songs attached to it. I think this is a great idea. I think it's an intriguing idea, and it's definitely an ambitious project as far as the band goes. I just feel that it had a very negative impact on the overall structure and fluidity of the album. I really felt the disconnect between each and every single part of the record. The record was not continuous. They didn't do a good job merging these 3 stories together beyond the overall theme of the stories, beyond the lyrics of the stories musically. They didn't do a very good job transitioning from one into the other to allow the album to, while talk about different subject matter, to still stay connected musically. So the structure on this record is really impacted by the overall theme, which, like I said, it breaks the fluidity of the record. This is not an album that has a red line all the way through it. You feel like you're resetting the record every 3 songs, so you almost feel like you're listening to a brand new album every 3 songs. That's too much to me when you're looking at an overall record, when you're looking for an album that needs to have some cohesive nature across every single song in order to feel as one and not just a collection of songs. Then this has also an impact into the overall music that the album has, because musically the album is very eclectic, which I understand, because if you're telling 3 different stories, you have to match the music to the stories that you're telling. So the eclectic nature of the record did not surprise me. But when you have an album structurally broken, having songs that are very different, that stretch the sound of the band perhaps too thin across all 10 tracks, it adds to that break. It adds to the break in fluidity that this album has. So the 2 become magnified. The structure magnifies the eclecticness of the sound, and then those 2 together really create a huge problem as far as the overall nature and style and approach that this record has. I just didn't feel connected with it, and I didn't feel the ability to stay connected with it. Like I said, I almost had to reset myself every 3 songs, because it really sounded to me that I was listening to 3 different records all tied into one full album. So not the perfect way to approach it. I think you can still have these songs being very dynamic and very diverse as far as the sound is concerned. You can still have the 3 different storylines tied into one overall concept. You can still have all of those things, but I think you have to do a better job in connecting the songs and connecting the concepts in order to create more of an easier transition from story to story and not allowing the album to feel as broken. I like some of the elements that this record had to offer individually. When I look at the songs on an individual basis, they're all very strong, both musically and vocally. I like the more progressive side of the band. I like the more Middle Eastern influences that they have on some of the tracks. All of these are great effects, and all of these are great building blocks for them to move forward, perhaps towards the next record. So musically, individually, is a very strong album with really unique songs, really unique approaches, great dynamics, and great internal structures. Is when you look at the overall picture that things start to fall apart, at least in my opinion. Perhaps the one element across the whole album that stays very consistent and tries to hold the album together is the vocals. Consistency is the word. It doesn't matter if we're talking about clean vocals or if we're talking about harsh vocals. It's just great vocal performance all around, from the first song to the last song. You almost know that regardless of where the song is going to go musically, you're going to get a great vocal performance on every single track. That to me was one of the bright spots, and one of the things that lends me to believe that you could really perhaps fix some smaller details in order to make the album more cohesive and give it a little bit more of a soul, of a heartbeat across all 10 tracks. Overall, this is a band that has a ton of talent and definitely room to grow. In my opinion, on this record, they tried a little bit too much and they spread their sound a little bit too thin. While the individual songs are extremely well constructed, extremely well put together, really dynamic, really fluid, great both musically and vocally, overall the whole album just doesn't feel to work as one. It works as perhaps a group of 3 and 3 and 3 songs with a bonus track at the end, but it doesn't feel cohesive enough to really sound like a full-fledged album, more so a collection of great individual songs. As far as tracks are concerned, I really want to touch on 3 that I really enjoyed, that really had a bigger impact as far as sound, vocals are concerned. Starting off with Out of My Head, heavy, groovy, super melodic track. I really like the sound that this song has. The clean vocals in the chorus really bring a great bass to the way the song sounds. The harsh vocals don't impact this song musically at all. They just change vocally the dynamic of the track, but musically the song stays very consistent across the whole track from the beginning all the way to the end. And in my opinion, it adds a different dynamic. Changing the vocals but not changing the style or the approach musically really gives a different dynamic mechanism to the way this track is put together. It allows the song to sound very balanced musically all the way through, and just have the vocals create the dynamic changes that the song needs in order to create the necessary ups and downs and the fluidity to take you from the beginning all the way to the end. Great track. Next, the Too Late to Be Born, heavy, melodic, driven song all the way from the beginning to the end. The harsh vocals add heaviness to the song for sure. They add a little bit more texture. They add a little bit more volume. It creates a bigger sound, bigger presence across the whole song. This is a song to me that proves to be very cohesive, very strong, both musically and vocally across the whole track. It doesn't give you too many changes on both ends. It's a song that really stays together, really stays united as one from the beginning all the way to the end, following a very linear path, a very straight and narrow path, if you will. But I like that. It has that sense of continuity. It has that sense of balance. And for a song like this, it works perfectly well. I like the solo as well. The solo blends perfectly into the song. It doesn't break the track. It doesn't reignite the track. It doesn't reset the track. It just blends perfectly into the melody that the song has. It blends perfectly into the style of vocals that the song has, and just allows the song to stay continuous, stay down this very linear, straightened path that it has from the beginning all the way to the end. I like that approach. It's a simple approach, but it works perfectly well for this song. Last but not least, Black Flame. I really enjoy this track. It's the closing track on the album. It's a bonus track. I love the vocals on this song, very melodic, but also just enough of a little bit of harsh vocals just to give a little bit of spice. But the song is really dominated by the clean vocals, and in my opinion, definitely one of the bright spots of the track, how good those clean vocals are. The music behind really offers a blend of heaviness and melody. You really feel like these are two worlds that are intertwined throughout this track. You get the verses being perhaps a little bit more driven, a little heavier, and then definitely more of a melodic approach in the chorus. The harsh vocals coming out of the chorus as you're coming out of the first chorus really resets the track. It really gives this boost of energy to the song, and definitely a boost of heaviness that the track really needed, because the clean vocals bring the mood down. They bring the song down. They're so haunting. They're so beautiful, so melodic. And following the second chorus, I really like the breakdowns. They went with a different approach. After the first chorus, they went with harsh vocals. After the second chorus, they went with breakdowns. I like this idea. I like this way of looking at a track, that you can have a very A-B style structure, but then throw different elements at it that change that feel, that make a very comfort style structure change completely and become a lot more dynamic, almost taking something that was done in a very simple way and stretching it out, and then adding a few ruffles into it to make it a little bit more complex. So adding the harsh vocals after the first chorus, adding the breakdowns after the second chorus, to me was just enough to change something that felt very simple, very straightforward, and give it a little bit more life, make it a little bit more dynamic. I really like that approach, and it really makes this song a lot better. It gives a lot more soul, a lot more of a heartbeat to the way this track sounds. This is it, guys. This is IGNEA with The Realms of Fire and Death, once again out July 3rd on Cadabra Music. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.